Welcome again then to the early Witch Bookie preview of day two of Goodwood. Glorious Goodwood, of course, second day on the downs there on the Wednesday. As I speak, we haven't had Tuesday's racing as yet, so we'll garner one or two clues, you would imagine, from Tuesday's day one action. But early thoughts really here for Wednesday's card, depending on ground conditions, etc. There's one or two showers maybe forecast in the area, but you'd imagine it's going to be around about the good. Pretty much perfect flat racing ground, you would say, for day two at Goodwood. So 120 gets us underway here. It's a mile and a half, 3-year-old handicap. Really intriguing race here with plenty of potential improvers lining up. Rafe Beckett has two of the main principles I fancy. Sing Us a Song would be the main one, and Cape Breton as well is the other one, who ran away with a 4-runner race at Salisbury last time out. I think he's quite ground dependent. I think he'd like it to stay dry and perhaps even dry up even further to sort of fast ground Cape Breton. So he could be a real player in here if the ground did really dry up. But if it stayed on the good side or even softened slightly, Sing Us a Song for me looks like a horse who is going to improve massively throughout the course of this back end of the season. At Royal Ascot, he was quite strongly fancied there, but a slow break and the nature of the race really didn't suit him at all. I'd forgive him that, scrap a line through that, go back to his Sandown performance before that, and he is a real progressive, top-notch, high-quality 3-year-old in the making. Sing Us a Song. I wouldn't mind betting he's contesting group races and stepping up in trip as we get in to the autumn. He is priced accordingly. He's around about the 11 to 4, 3 to 1 favourite mark, Sing Us a Song. But I think that's right. And I think you could probably argue that he's still a touch overpriced for me. He should be absolute clear favourite in here, Sing Us a Song. Like I said, you'd have to forgive him the Ascot run, but I think that's easily done. And I think he's going to take the world a beating in the 120, the first race at Goodwood on Wednesday, day two. On to the Group 3 Oak Tree Stakes for fillies and mares next up. Really open, plenty that you can make cases for. Nothing that I was particularly keen on from a price perspective at this stage, but some of the 3-year-olds down towards the bottom of the field certainly catch the eye, and Rafe Beckett is that man again. He could have a good start to Wednesday, perhaps at Goodwood. I thought his Tabiti had an excellent chance in that 155 at Goodwood. Malcolm Stakes, now 2-year-olds in action, 5 furlongs, 230. Group 3, should I say. Always an intriguing race each year, possibly not the deepest renewal this year, I would suggest. And with that in mind, again, it's another one towards the top of the market that I'm going to give a plug for here at around about the 36-hour out mark. And that's Lady Iman for Jer Lyons. Ryan Moore taking the ride here. She's got some absolutely standout form with the likes of True Love, Green Sense. She's clocked quick times. She was second behind Beautify at the Curragh last time out in a Group 2. The early stud stakes fillies race. I don't think there was any disgrace in that, actually, and I think if anything, dropping back to the flying 5 here at Goodwood is going to see Lady Iman in absolutely a career best light. Might well be a potential each way double with Sing Us a Song in the opener. That's probably going to be the main betting angle to the day, I reckon. Sing Us a Song in the 120 and Lady Iman in the 230. Going on through, we've then got the Sussex Stakes, of course, which will be the race of the week for many. You would fancy, with Field of Gold bidding to continue his rise to superstardom, it would seem. Goodwood, obviously, as a track, he would have to suggest that he can handle that particular track if you wanted to wade in at the very short odds that he is, but I don't see any reason why he shouldn't. He looks a fairly well-balanced, maturing colt, so Field of Gold will be tough to beat. In terms of overpriced horses in the race, or perhaps an angle into the race in the market without, and Carl Spackler I thought was interesting because he ran well, should I say, for a long way at Royal Ascot behind Docklands in the Queen Anne. Now he'd obviously have to turn around that form with Docklands, but I think a turning track over the mile here and potential drying fast ground could suit Carl Spackler, actually, and he's one of the only horses that might push forward here, except perhaps Kirat, who's probably in there as a pacemaker for his ownership mate Field of Gold. But they might well forget Kirat on the front end if he goes too quick. And I thought Carl Spackler, like I said, back round a bend, obviously American horse, he's much more adept at racing round a bend, for all that it is left-handed bends in America, and this is a right-handed bend, but you'd hope that shouldn't make too much of a difference. But he could be overpriced potentially in the Sussex Stakes, but it looks Field of Gold's to lose, you would imagine. last few races on the card at Goodwood on day 2 do look tricky again, but if there is a bet to be had, it's in the Alice Keppel Fillies Conditions Stakes, again over 5 furlongs at 4.20. A few horses in here on a bit of a retrieval mission, perhaps from Royal Ascot. But the one who catches the eye massively for me is Luna Mia for Mick O'Callaghan and Ross O'Ryan. Blinkers go on for the first time, which is interesting. She's got a good draw in stall 10. She comes out of that Beautify Lady Iman race at the Curragh, which was in a quick time. And she caught the eye massively behind Manu Kaur over 6.5 furlongs on her debut. She looks all speed to me. The blinkers could have a galvanising effect. And she could be perhaps the bet of the day from an each-way value perspective, around about the 7-1, 8-1 mark. Is Luna Mia in that Alice Keppel Stakes at 4.20 at Goodwood. Right, that's just about your lot for Wednesday for day 2 at Goodwood. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, we've had a decent first day with a couple of bets there. As ever, check the website, whichbookie.co.uk, for the finalised selections on the evening before or perhaps the morning of race day, depending on one or two factors. Other than that, have a great week and enjoy the racing at Goodwood and Galway. Cracking stuff.
Day 2 of Glorious Goodwoods. It's my thoughts, David Young from whichbookie.co.uk. As Will has already alluded to, you can check a link in the description at whichbookie.co.uk for our daily tips. Mine will typically go up the morning of the race, usually by 8 a.m. On big festivals like this, I might wait till 9 a.m. Will's might be up the night before, but we're going to give you our thoughts in this video. Will's already done that, covered a thought in pretty much every single race for us. I'm going to run through each race for day 2 as well, where I think there's a bet potentially, or where I've got an opinion that I think is worth voicing. So the opening race, the 120, is a handicap over 1 mile 4 furlongs. There's a few boxes to be ticked of the typical winner of this first race on day 2. The one who just might be the best option in this race at an each way price is Caracca for Alan King. His glorious Goodwood record in handicaps, it leaves a little bit to be desired, but 3-year-olds in these handicaps, he's had 11 runners, he's only had 1 winner, but 7 of the last 9 runners have finished in the top 2. So Caracca's about 7-1, could be a bit of an each way price. Won really well on handicap debut over this trip at Haydock, then ran a big race last time out in a better class race, but dropped down to 10 furlongs. That was on quick ground. Now the horse is up £2 for that last run, but I think the step back up in trip, I think this particular race, although it's a class 2 and it's just as tough, might be a tiny bit easier than that Newmarket contest from last time out. And there might be a little bit more ease in the ground. It's not going to be as fast as Good to Firm last time out. 2 from 3 under Ross O'Ryan this season specifically. I think there's a reason to suggest that Caracca at 7-1 might just be the way to play this race, especially worth a mention for a place pot purpose as well. The 155, the Oak Tree Stakes over 7 furlongs. An early shortlist I've got in here is 2 of them, Tabiti and Bright Thunder. Now Tabiti has everything going for her apart from being drawn in stall 7. It's not the end of the world. You've got Ryan Moore up top. If a jockey's going to be able to defy a bad draw, and it might not even be that bad a draw, then it's going to be him. She's retained in blinkers, which worked all right last time out, but they're not guaranteed to work again. And this is a group race. It's not messing about in handicaps. So tempered enthusiasm around about 7-2 for that one. Bright Thunder's interesting. About 9-1 for this race. She beat Crimson Advocat earlier this season in a listed race at Goodwood. That was over a mile, but I think that's pretty good form. Her listed win last time out is decent form too. She does drop back to 7 furlongs from a mile, which is the only slight concern I'd probably say. But other than that, I think there's every reason to think that this race could suit. Does have to give weight away to Tabiti, and on figures there's a little bit to find with a few of them, hence the price the horse is. So wouldn't be a suggestion or a selection in the race, I don't think, at this stage, but would be one again that, 14 runners, favourite could have every chance of winning this race, but could also not perform in those blinkers. The draw may actually be a bit of an issue. So again, something to mention potentially for a place pot perspective. In the Molecombe Stakes, the 230, 5 furlong Group 3, I'm in complete agreement with what Will's said on this race, that Lady Imam really is the one to beat. 6-4 about her, I think looks fine. You go back to her form, she's last 2 runs at 6 furlongs are fine. She got beat by Beautify last time out, who looks a real strong, decent filly. We haven't seen her since, but I think that's decent forming in defeat, despite it being at 6 furlongs. She just got outstayed, I think. Now, if you go back to her start of the season, 5 furlong runs have been decent form. A debut win, which was on the all-weather. She beat a horse, or she slammed a horse that's won a handicap on debut, handicap debut that is, that's now rated 94. She's coming in of a figure around about 100 here. If you think of the time that she beat True Love as well, that horse is a dual group winner since being beaten by Lady Imam on debut. Green Sense is a Group 2 winner from last time out. And like I say, that debut run was decent. So there is a bit of 6 furlong form in there. There's a bit of 5 furlong form, but the drop back to 5 furlong looks like it's going to suit. Definitely deserves to be favourite. 6 to 4 probably looks like an all right price as well, in my opinion. So likely to feature in the column. The Sussex Stakes, the 305, I'd have no betting interest in there. Will's given a without Field of Gold alternative. I would just leave this race alone from my perspective, so we can move on to the fillies handicap, the 345. In here, I've got a couple on the short list. Again, I'm not 100% sure how I might play this race, or if I do a bit more work, these two may not even make the list. But our Golden One is a horse that definitely looks like she wants softer ground, but there's a bit of rain about. It's going to be on the easier side of good, so it might not be an absolute deal breaker. There's a bit of rain about, like I say, could be on the easy side of it. 16 to 1 looks fine. Ticks a lot of boxes for this race. The only thing really misses out on should have run within the last 43 days, ran 46 days ago. But yeah, I think is a horse that's definitely worth a mention anyway. Patagonia Girl is the other one I think is worth a mention. You need to draw a line through her last run, but fairly progressive in a couple of runs before that. I also mentioned Karaka earlier. This horse was behind Karaka in that Haydock handicap over 1 mile 4. This is a drop back in trip for Patagonia Girl, which will suit. That could look okay form, especially in the context of this race. So there's a couple of bigger prices that I'll be looking at playing, maybe each way small stakes or in each way block bets, probably in your place pots. But like I say, you'll have to find out by clicking the link in the description for our final selections what makes the column in terms of, you know, horses for consideration or suggestion. The Alice Keppel Filly Stakes, the 420. I know Will's got an interest in angling with Luna Mia in first time blinkers. Zelena for me really is the one to beat. She is priced accordingly though at 10 to 11, weak at 10 to 11, so there might be some even money or odds against about this one. I wouldn't want to look to try and really take her on. There are 11 runners, there's 10 alternatives to take her on with, but there's a few that I think would line up to have chances, and I think they would only have a chance of running second to her. So Zelena would be one that I'd fancy. Maybe when I touched on the Sussex Stakes with Field of Gold, you could put these two in a double. It would pay 6 to 4 or thereabouts. The 455, the last race on day 2. It's a real deep race, very competitive. You can make a case for loads in here. I want to give a mention to Castle City for Richard Hannon. Richard Hannon's got a real good record in this race. Didn't pan out last year, and it was this horse in the race last year. Under Jamie Spencer, just never ran a race. One after, then came back to Goodwood and again didn't really run a race. So the track could be an issue. £1 higher mark, but running in decent form than last year, or at least the same form as last year, but you know, £1 higher than last year. Track could be a concern, but yeah, Richard Hannon didn't have a winner at Glorious Goodwood last year, so maybe we can put a line through that, and statistically does all right in here. They're coming back for redemption, but lots of horses are doing that. Blueprints that won it last year, I think form figures at Goodwood are 3-1-3, won this last year for £1 lower mark, so about 10 to 1 about that horse. Looks, again, for your place pots, an absolute certainty to be put in there. Billy Joe was second last year. Now, I think it was £3 lower, or is £3 lower this time round. Good form this season as well, behind More Thunder, Never So Brave, even Arcadian was in there as well. A 10 to 1, 5 places each way looks like an actual genuine bet. Only ran 4 days ago, but I feel like they're the ones on the short list. But the problem with a race like this is you could keep going through runners and you could keep making cases for them. So the 3 worth a mention, I think, in there for me, and the ones that would be going in a perm for maybe TriCast or something, because the place pot will be done by now. But Castle City, the Richard Hannon angle, Billy Joe and Blueprints from the form from last year. Billy Joe especially would be the preference of those two if you had to side with just one. So that's the thoughts for day 2. We'll be back for every single day of this for Goodwood. Hope you're liking the new format in the fact that you can split up mine and Will's views. We're doing this simply because it's a bit easier for us to get these out in a timely manner. You can see the ITV ratings on in the background. We've not had day 1 going off just yet, but that will happen soon. And like I said, we're going to get this out for every day of Glorious Goodwood. So links in the description for the whichbookie.co.uk website to find our final selections. Drop a like on the video if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you can, you want to, and you haven't done already. Drop a comment with what your best bet may be for day 2 to give us a bit of help. And we will see you again tomorrow.